Hey everybody. It feels crazy right now. We're still in the middle of the pandemic. A lot's going on. Every week it changes, but it's summertime, and there's such amazing summer fruit right now. And I always try to push myself to use it in some way, even if I just really don't have the time to make anything, because it's here for like 2 seconds and then it's gone for the rest of the year. So I always feel like you have to kind of appreciate it while it's in season. That is a very Zoeify thing to do. So on the topic of Zoeifying, I think this is our third video, Zoeifying. For those of you who don't know what Zoeifying is, Zoe Ford was my grandmother. Her real name was Esther Finestone, and she always made things look absolutely perfect. Of course, she was a working woman. She owned an art gallery. She took care of she ran a nursery school for a while. She was busy, but she always made time to make everything really, really beautiful, and made sure everything was on point. Now, I definitely don't have enough time to do that these days. I'm super busy. Catering company, we're doing weekly deliveries. We just started the pantry. We're shipping stuff all across Canada, doing a ton of events, and it's really fun. But I try to make recipes that I feel are no-brainers, really, really quick, but give you the absolutely most amazing results. So this is actually a Nora Ephron recipe. The lovely Nora Ephron wrote a lot of books, and in those books were a lot of recipes. And this is from a book called Heartburn, and this is called the Heartburn Peach Pie. I tend to use whatever I have on hand, a lot of stone fruit. Hers was just with peaches. I use peaches and blueberries most of the time. It's not peach season quite yet. But you can really use whatever you want. And the reason I love this recipe is because it's like a pie, but it's not really a pie. And who doesn't love like something that's really quick that looks like it took you forever to make? So I kind of went ahead and made the pie crust already. I'm going to show you how to do that and then show you some components and how to throw in really whatever fruit you have. I feel like any fruit would work really well in this. So I have a cup and a quarter of flour in here. And into it, I'm going to put a half a stick of butter that I've chopped up into some small cubes. Normally, I would do this in the food processor. It takes 2 seconds in the food processor. I'm going to put in half a teaspoon of salt. That's important in here, but no sugar in this crust because you're going to put a little custard on top. Really sweet. Tastes so good. So I just put the butter right in here and mix it up. This is almost like how I make scones. And I'm going to press the butter through here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I feel like, let's say you're up in the country, you're at a friend's place, maybe they don't have a food processor, you don't really need a food processor. So you could buy, there's like a pastry thing that you can use that kind of pushes the butter through. Often my grandmother used to use a fork, and she would kind of, my father used to say she would fork the butter through the pie crust. I don't know if that's the exact terminology. You can always use 2 knives. That's another way to do it. Let's say you don't have a food processor and you want to get the butter through quickly. You're kind of scraping the knives together. And that is called like cutting the butter through the pie dough. Works super, super well. Anyway, that's very noisy. Any way you choose to do it. I'm going to press the butter through here. And then we're going to do something unusual with this pie crust, which is to put in a little bit of sour cream, which those of you know and me know it's one of my favorite ingredients. A little extra sour cream makes everything taste so amazing. So I find that I go often to a farmer's market. Right now I'm very rarely going to the farmer's market, but whenever I see really beautiful things, to be very fair, I really don't like apricots. But these are so beautiful. How could you not buy these and do something with them? So I figured this is a perfect thing to do, make a little tart with them. And often I make things and just give them away. I feel like I just need to sort of, bake, take a picture, memorize it, maybe take 1 bite, and then I give the rest away. I also have some really nice cherries that I got, but cherries are a bit too sour for me. So I thought this is the perfect recipe because you can kind of make it a little bit sweeter if you want to. If you feel like you have blueberries that are maybe a little bit too sour, you can just add a tiny bit more sugar into here and it will be amazing. So the thing about this versus making a pie is that you want it to be crumbly. And the reason you want it to be crumbly is you're going to press it into the pan and you don't have to roll anything out. And to be honest with you, I love to make pies and roll stuff out, but when I have no time, the last thing I want to do is get out the rolling pin, wash the rolling pin, have stuff everywhere. So normally I put this into the food processor, 2 seconds, it's done. I'm going to mix in 2 really nice, I'm always using my hands here. 2 tablespoons of sour cream. This makes it super duper rich and kind of very forgiving. Okay, I'm gonna mix the sour cream in. That's gonna bring it together a little bit, but even in the food processor, you don't really want it to go into a ball. You really want to keep it kind of crumbly, because that way you're gonna be able to press it in. So I have my beautiful little pie tin in the oven right now. Oh, I think it's ready to come out. I've timed this perfectly. And I'm gonna show you a couple little things you could do differently with this. So you don't mind the smoke. I burnt something the other day, and that's what happens. Okay, pie crust is ready. So what I thought I would show you guys is how to use, I found these molds at a garage sale, and actually they're just kind of, if you can see, they're kind of rounded, so it's not really a muffin tin. And I'm gonna just take a tiny bit of butter, and I'm gonna just a little bit, because I don't think these are gonna be so non-stick. So I'm gonna put a tiny bit of butter at the bottom. And again, this pie crust is just really very forgiving. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crumble a little bit into each one, really not too much, maybe kind of halfway. And I will finish this later and post a photo so you guys can see. But part of what Zoeifying is to have kind of minimal effort for maximum results. And what I love about that is that it's just honest about how we are all feeling lately. We all want to have a nice dinner. We all want things to look beautiful when our friends come over, or guests come over, or clients come over. But I feel like nobody really has the time. The other day I was saying, when I was a kid, all the moms were home. You'd come home from kindergarten or grade 1 and all the moms were home. And I feel like now everybody's working, and they're working extra hard. So these kinds of recipes to me are really a very typical kind of Zoeified thing. Not taking a long time, really fun to do, using up whatever you have. Doesn't take a high level of technique, but you get something super duper delicious. So I've pressed these into the pan. It's kind of like use whatever you want. A lot of times I just use a regular pie pan, which I have here, but I figured I'd show you some extra tricks. Okay, so I've pressed those in. That's it. That's what's great about this. It's kind of crumbly, and you just press